very well. Call the meeting to order. Agenda. First up, approve the minutes from May 21st. Entertain a motion to do so. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, questions, changes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Support. Jen is going to be here. She's driving up. I'm sure she's driving from California, so if you this late. Citizen comments. Are there any at this point? Presentation of school items.
So as you know, every year we set goals, and after last year's board retreat and then admin retreat, we all generated lots of goals. So what I tried to do is to,
No, you say
is to integrate the board and the discussions that we had had, what we knew the kids needed, and with the direction that the SAU was going in. And I presented those goals back in September. But our overall theme for the year was building community. And we thought that this picture kind of exemplifies parents, community members, staff members, graduates, and current students all working together just a couple of weeks ago on the pavilion paving. So the first goal was to increase our student engagement and self-direction through increased personalization, and we went about that in a number of different ways. The 4th through 6th grade, the upper house, as it were, implemented student-led conferences for the first time. And as part of that, we have read a chapter in a book that I'll refer to a little bit later, but we used their model of doing interest surveys, getting parent feedback and input, and then meeting with the students in the fall, generating a goal plan and revisiting that in January and then again at the end of the year. And the 6th grade in particular did a portfolio to kind of summarize their learning for the year. So that was what we called our pilot capstone learning project. We hope to expand upon that next year and have that kind of grow with the interests of the 6th grade students. We looked at a bunch of different interest inventories from Renzulli, online, ones that other teachers had generated, and we read lots of articles about personalized learning. Most of the professional development, SAU-wide, was related to competency-based or personalized learning, and the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders drafted and implemented their own surveys to use. Part of my goal for the personalized learning position was for that person next year over the summer to develop or adopt one for our permanent use. We haven't gotten there yet, but that's what some of our summer work will be while we're at that design studio conference this summer. We were to compile a directory of community members. We have an online directory that we put together. Susan's been kind of coordinating that, and each time we have a person come in to work either with small groups or individual students, or presentations, or all school meetings, we have begun to compile their contact information and a list, and we see that as kind of an ongoing task that we'll continue to participate in as we build the directory over time. So this year, in terms of ELOs, which are extended learning opportunities, we piloted one short-term pilot for an individual student in auto mechanics. We have lots of opportunities for the kids through the Pavilion Project to have some mentorship and some learning around logging and drafting, architecture. So there was some small group things related to that. During our all-school meeting, we had continued with our interview series where we invite a community member in and we talk to them a little bit about, the 6th graders would generate questions, and we talk to them about their job and what's entailed with their job and what they needed to know to be in their job, and just to kind of chat with the kids about their particular passions around their job. We did the drama this year with Children's Stage Adventures, which many of our youngsters really loved the ability to perform in the play. The craft fair and the after-school program, we offered a number of different areas that students could participate in after school, and that went really, really well. The book study that we did around competency-based education and personalized learning is called Leaders of Their Own Learning, and we completed 5 of the 8 chapters. And again, as I said, we used the guidelines for the student exhibitions of learning, which you hopefully, if you were able to come to our immigration presentation and our spring family night, we followed their model of being explicit about learning objectives and having the students have some choice within their study of what they did their study on, and then presenting that in working on their presentation and speaking and listening skills as well. The faculty worked on increasing the visibility of student learning goals, and the chapters that we read were about learning targets or objectives, the same kind of thing on that, using data with students, which is something that I'm hoping we'll do more of next year. How do you get the students to wrap their brains around exactly where they are, what the next steps are in their learning, and what their goals and objectives will be based around what they know about themselves as a learner, both standardized testing, informal testing, and their own student work samples. And then we continued the 6th grade student council model that we started last year. We met weekly. The agendas and the minutes were fully developed and kept by the students. We learned a lot about timelines and personal responsibility and what your behaviors and effects happens when you don't pull your weight, what happens to the group and so forth. There were lots of good learning about that. The students planned AL school meetings. I had volunteers co-lead the student newspaper and be editors with that. We've offered the 6th graders a chance to be leaders at CIT. Today on our all-school field trip, they are assisting the teachers in managing keeping the kids together and working with the youngers. Of course, the buddy program we've had for a long time. So we've really strengthened the leadership opportunities for kiddos this year for the 6th grade. Then, of course, there was all that pavilion learning, too. I don't want to forget that. They had to do a lot of talking with the building inspector. They filled out the paperwork. They wrote thank you notes. They presented at Kiwanis and Rotary. So they were out in the field doing a lot of work around that. The second goal was to develop our ability to understand what a performance assessment is. There were 2 ways that we did that. One was through PACE, which is the state initiative to replace some of our state testing with performance assessments. So 2 of the teachers worked, they went through 3 sessions with teachers all across the state and developed assessments to be used with future state testing protocols. That was science and language arts. And then we had 2 other faculty members who took part in the district-wide quality performance assessment. There were 3 full-day sessions where they worked for the Center for Assessment to develop and learn all about how to make a quality performance assessment, which they built around our integrated units and brought back and shared with their staffs. And we actually applied that at the spring integrated unit. So the staff had a chance to take a look at how that worked. And then the professional development specialist from the Center for Assessment, as part of that QPA process, came to us 3 times and worked here in the building with the teachers, answering questions and following up and helping them develop their proficiency in the assessment practices. Let's see. So part of that was for them to develop a performance assessment. All 4 of the teachers did complete a performance assessment this year. And the 6th grade capstone project, John and I worked together and we did a rubric and a performance-based assessment on that and hope to develop that even further next year. The pavilion project we talked a lot about, so I won't go into great depth and detail there, and I have another update, but there were lots of ways that the students were involved in learning around that task, both from kindergarten. They learned the names of tools and what the parts of the structure were, as you saw at the last meeting. fundraising, public speaking. There was a lot of wonderful learning embedded within that. And then there's some photos from some of the hands-on kind of experiential learning that our kiddos did. And I want to thank all of you at the board level for your support in working with us around, not only on this, but all the time to support learning. Are there any specific questions?
So, you've really done a lot of a number of different things, but as it relates to the competency-based education, we had our meeting last year, and I really think that you developed a really good plan and goals out of that. And it seems like you did a lot of work to really accomplish them. I guess, do you get a sense that it's moving in the right direction as far as that's concerned? Are you as happy with where that's going? And want to continue the efforts towards that?
Absolutely, yeah. The staff really has embraced the whole personalized learning piece and having kids pursuing what they love. It's a little bit of a juggling act sometimes because, as you know, kiddos all have a wide variety of things they're good at and not so good at, and number of interests that they have, but they've been really enthused about, and they love working together. That's really when my staff's at the best, when they're like taking on the immigration unit per se, or their things that they did over the spring, the integrated units. It's a real strong belief in the kids learn best by having everything integrated in a meaningful way and not so much keeping math and science and those things separated. So yes, they've been really enthusiastic about it.
So I guess after that, do you feel like there's more that you want from the board from us in regards to that to help with that?
Thank you. We're looking forward to being able to spend 3 days, 2 nights together away from home and our families, and having some bonding time as well as some time to partake of some great professional development. The administrators went last year, and it was a really well done conference. So we're looking forward to that. So that's money that we put into the budget for us to enable us to do that. So we will let you know.
Thanks, Al.
Great. Thank you.
Looks like this.
Well, there's actually not many.
Brings us to old business. First up there is the old early childhood education update. And at our last meeting, we were kind of thinking that we would come to this one kind of prepared with any kind of last and final questions and information that we want to pursue further with it, and just kind of feed it, talk about it, and then let y'all have it and work on it over the summer. Because the idea in September we probably have more of a concrete look at what our questions might be. So that's where we are. Anybody have any that they want to?
I'd be very interested in knowing Gail's thoughts and what it would look like bringing 4-year-olds into the kindergarten class. I don't know what that would look like, configuration-wise.
No, something that we kind of had developed out of that workshop, and I was thinking the same thing, that we wanted at least to answer the question or to look at it and see what it would look like. Gail, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you indicated that that's not the best ideal thing, so I think that the idea is just, we're not asking you to be for it, it's just, if that's what we want, tell us what that looks like.
Yeah.
Cool.
And give us the pros and cons. If you can't put any pros down, that's okay. And financial too, I think I'd want to know at the same time. It looks like you want to know that's an SAU 9.
Yeah, I usually work closely with Becky and the SAU folks to project costs for that, anything like that.
That's what I think.
I submitted questions to her on copy and then we'll wrap up the workshop. So it's nothing new.
Yeah, Gail, you and I have spoken, and I saw Jen's questions, so I think it's, everything we've already spoken about, just in terms of coming back and answering all questions that have been through that other meeting in this And if there is a particular plan you can advocate for, we would want to hear that, or I would want to hear that, you know. And obviously speaking to the space issue and licensure and all of that.
Thanks.
Still looking for the support if you need anything, there is, you know, we're happy to help.
Did everybody get a copy of your notes or did?
No, I'll send it out.
Yeah, thank you. That might trigger some thoughts.
Yeah, just to clarify, where are we all at? Or are there still some of us that are hoping growth go on 3, 4, 7?
I want to do what Gail thinks is the best. I mean, I'm open to both, but I'm going to leave it to kind of her and to flush out some of the questions that we came up with the school board, you know, the workshop, so.
Are we not moving for a 3-4 preschool?
Yeah, I was wondering that too, but I thought that all I'm pretty clear about that aspect.
Well, that's kind of what I'm just trying to clarify now. Well, we all said we wanted something, so I'm just trying to find out. I was the only one to ask questions. You guys said my questions were submitted, so I didn't know if that was based on just 4-year-olds or a full-on.
I'm moving for a 3-4 preschool, proper preschool.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, I just want to keep in mind the need that we're responding to and our obligations. You know, we're already required to provide for children who have special needs at the 3-year level. Keeping in mind the school community, you know, I just want to see how that plays out at this point in time, right? It's always a snapshot, right? Whatever we can do best at that time. So, you know, whatever you think would work. If you think best is 4-year-olds, I would want to hear that. You know, if we don't have the space, I definitely want to hear that. So whatever direction you can give us so that we can figure out which way to move forward, you know?
So if there are specific questions that you've had, it looks like we're in favor of it. We're in favor of basically the plan that we had last year. We just want to reinforce some of the details of it. Meaning that we really want to understand and grasp the space concept as the biggest issue with having the 3 and 4-year-olds. And thrown on top of that, we just want to explore what does it look like if it's just 4-year-olds. And obviously, I don't think anybody's endorsed that yet. It's just we want to know what does that look like so that we can at least answer that question. Other than that, I don't think we're looking to look at anything different than what we were talking about last year, correct? So that's a major thing that we had. Controversially, we're not looking to explore other avenues at this point. It's basically what last year's plan was, and also last year's plan minus 3-year-olds.
And would it be safe to say, and last year's plan, not using the basement at all?
Exactly, yeah.
I think so.
So no
Yeah,
basement.
Or even off-site, or is that still something some board members would like to explore?
I think offsite that's a whole different avenue, and if we were going to explore offsite, then we would want to form committees, and we really want to start hashing things out. And honestly, I don't think we have time between now and December to actually accomplish that. So that we, again, funding something another year out. So I think that's a whole different animal altogether. And that's kind of what I'm saying. I think that what we're looking at is basically in this building,
Space is currently in use.
reinforce the idea, do we have the space? Do we have the space minus the basement? And what does it look like if we took out 3-year-olds and listed 4-year-olds? That's pretty much the long and short of it. Are we good?
The idea would be that you'll come back to us in September with something.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Really update, probably up to speed on that thing.
I did, you had asked me to make a listing of the contributors and the donations that we've gotten, so I did go Susan actually put that together. And then some of the updates we've done just since last meeting, so a lot of it you know, but if you look on the back, you can see the businesses and the professionals, that people that donated time, people who donated time and labor, and then what our next steps will be for the fall.
Could we, and have we, and will we, somehow maybe we need to reach out and thank a lot of these people, or just give some recognition?
I think they're all of it, and they're ready to stuff.
Right, but they all got,
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I think would be. Thank everybody involved.
Yeah, that's why I said will we, not could we.
Yeah, let's keep it in mind.
Yeah.
and we also informed all of the donors that there was going to be a delay based on what we had originally said, and were they still okay with the donation based on the fact that it would be later than we first thought. So we've been communicating with all of them so that they would know.
Yeah, I guess that was more recognition rather than thank you.
The 7th graders came back last week. And I know they've had a really fun time coming and doing that. It was a good experience, but it was just cute today that that morning we got here, I wasn't quite sure what to do, and Joe came running up and was like, "Hey, man, come on, we're all meeting this up first." And it was just something warming and fun about that when I saw that. Good time today.
It was lovely. Last year's Super Bowl again.
Yeah. Anything else? Instructional shoes. Staffing needs to be great.
Okay. We have sort of exciting news. We have 51 students enrolled for next fall. Our original projection had been 44, so we're excited about that. And because, as you know, we're always talking about configuration and whether it's a 5-6 or a 4-5, and a couple of years ago I proposed to move us into kind of an upper house, lower house model. I wanted to put that on paper and flesh that out a little bit for folks, including student numbers within that, so you can take a look at who we've got in the building. So for next year, 51 total students, and I've heard a rumor of 2 more potential students coming. There'll be 26 students in the lower house and 25 students in the upper house next year. And I did not include the homeschoolers in that count, so there were 2 additional homeschoolers there as well.
Yeah, I got a call today actually from a family looking for a place in building a house in Jackson. 2 kids. No, that's 2 you're talking about.
I'm not sure.
They want a place in July. School in September. So I don't know if that's a new one or something you haven't counted.
They're not on paper unless they sign papers. So these numbers are
Signed up
people who are currently enrolled or have filled out paperwork for the fall already. So in the lower house, as you know, staffing is 2 teachers, and I'll talk about aides in a minute. And then upper house, there are also 2 teachers, and in that bottom box, you can see that we have a 50% special educator that we share across all 7 grades, the personalized learning coordinator, which will be shared across all 7 grades, a 20% UA media person that we borrow from Bartlett, 20% world language, and of course the 20% PE and 20% art and 40% music, which I didn't include our traditional UA for that. And then if you look at the following year, here it's projected to drop to 45 students in the lower house and the upper house. So in looking at next year, many of the new registrations, when I sat down to put together all of the student needs, we have some incoming students with specific needs for additional aid time, either in a 504 plan or an IEP plan, and so I'm coming to you actually with a request to consider a new position based on that, and I can talk with you more in detail, perhaps in a non-public session about that. But it's a combination of incoming, new students moving into the district and new identifications within our own population. So it's a 3-faceted request. The upper house can continue to have configured as 4th through 6th grade, the lower house K through 3, at least at the moment. And I would propose the new aide be a part-time person, 5 hours a day, which would work basically in the upper house, and I would have to move my lower house aide to be the full-time person, because most of the needs will be in lower house.
Gail's at 5 hours or 5.5 hours?
5.5. Yeah.
And what's full-time for the day?
And I'll pass out, I broke it down.
What's full-time for a day? 7?
30 hours 30 hours a week in Jackson.
It's just cutting off by half an hour.
Half an hour each day. When I look at the budget, A full-time person encompasses benefits, which increase the cost of said aid to $50,000 or more. I think looking at the student needs that we can manage with part-time, and that saves the district. We didn't budget for this position, obviously, so it makes it a little bit more doable financially. We would likely use combination of grants with some district funds. And I think that I can cover the part-time position without needing to go to a special ed trust fund or doing any increases like that.
You mentioned non-public, did you do that today or just?
If you had specific questions, I can't talk about student needs in this public forum, but I can help you understand the need for that in a public if you feel the need to do that.
So we'll get to their own, see if anybody wants to, if anyone does want to flesh it out more, and make a motion, before we get to non-public to do so.
You know, this is something you want us to make a decision on today?
We'll need it for the fall, we need it for September, right? We're good to.
So you need to start advertising for that position.
So if you wanted to establish the position tonight, or the staff, then we could advertise it as a position, and then we bring a recommendation for hire to the next board meeting.
Certainly,
That's what we should do, because they can get a chance you're gonna get more qualified people now than more for people now.
Right. The more time we have, the better, so. And
So does anybody want to go to non-public and discuss this further, or are we ready to?
I think it's a job.
Did you?
I don't know, I'm still thinking about it when we get there.
Yeah.
And then the 30 minutes a day for this individual to make them not full-time is a cost-saving initiative to keep them off his benefits?
With a part-time person, it would be 17,000. I think. Did I
Yeah,
miss that?
17,600.
With a full-time person, it would be over 50,000 in terms of projecting the needs for that. And then if I felt like we really needed a full-time person, I would go forward. It would not be, I would have to ask you if I felt like we needed that full-time position. But the first half hour of the school day is typically morning meetings, attendance taking, do you have your, so there's no direct instruction really in the first half hour. And then at the end of the day, our kiddos get out at 3:15, but we're wrapping up. So I'm shaving minutes off of either end of the day so that that person would work maybe 9 to 2:30, which would cover the bulk of the instructional time.
And I believe Gail mostly did that because the budget's already through.
Right.
It's above and beyond. If it was budget season, you probably would ask for full time.
Right, and if I had, specifics in the written, we need a one-to-one student full day, I would have to ask you for a full
Yeah.
day person.
Versus instruction, is that better suited for?
And let me ask you, this, the one, and I might not even have to go to non-public. If you had this information before you, just why not?
Why don't we go to non-public?
Go to non-public?
Yeah, because it's just, we just have a question that's borderline, and it depends on what the answer is.
Yeah.
So, I entertain a motion to go into
Oh, you
non-public.
want to do it now? Okay.
Well, depends whether we want to actually establish positions. Like, if we want to do that right now, then yeah, so let's go to non-public right now. And, I don't think it's going to take long, and we're probably going to be able to room for a few minutes.
So then,
Okay, I'm going to take care of
yeah. Motion to go to non-public.
Second.
all those in favor. Family Friday.
Welcome back.
I think that's really what the beginning of the meeting.
So I have one more thing to say about this particular item. Yes, I would like us to see where we all want to take it from before we decide whether yes or let's talk about. We're giving it a go ahead. I don't know what we can do there.
I think we just need to, a motion to create the position and have them advertise for it.
Yeah.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
We were still on Gail's faculty configuration.
Right. And part of this plan, I think hopefully will relieve the annual discussion about grade configurations. We will have the upper house and the lower house and continue to work on the competency-based and personalized learning piece like we have. And there'll be 2 teachers in each house, and then the aides as I described them. And within, like we did this year, within the house, they have the flexibility to group according to whatever the activity is. If they're doing a 4 through 6 integrated unit, they'll do that. They're doing math at certain levels, they can divide the kiddos into different groupings. That makes it work for wherever the students are. They'll get what they need.
Are the teachers staying where they are as far as grade level goes?
Yes.
Okay.
I like the way it's looked about the way it's makes it easier for me to understand. I don't know why, but it's just putting linear down a piece of paper. It's hard for me to actually like wrap my head around it better. So I like this presentation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyways, if you see this, you can see this one copy of this. Personnel actions. Entertain a motion for the election of Logan Haggerty as the summer counselor. Question? Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Entertain a motion for the second reading and adoption of the Village League Bank language for contracted and non-contracted personnel policies. So moved. And so just to understand that motion was to adopt the policies that we're discussing earlier. Any questions on the language, concerns, comments?
So the only thing I just wanted to confirm is this the exact form that will be used for this?
That's the proposed form, yeah.
Anything else? All those in favor? Unanimous. Entertain a motion for the approval of summer review work.
Yes. So, every summer, our teaching teams get together and do some planning for the upcoming year. So we're requesting 15 hours for each of the 4 teaching staff, and our current rate that we've agreed to is $24 per hour, so that's $1,440 for summer work, which is in our next year's budget under professional development.
Okay. Kevin, actually, does this bring us up to being on par with what Congress in regards to the extracurricular outside of schoolwork as far as?
Yeah, well, you've received a number of different proposals for some curriculum work that people will be very engaged with. This is more specific to just Jackson itself.
And I wasn't talking much about the work itself as much as the rate that we're paying.
Yeah, you know, Conley's 24, Bartlett's a little bit more. I think they're 30. So that may be something to take a look at coming budget time next year.
Just when we were, it wasn't necessarily only for curriculum work, the professional development. I remember last year we had some discussions about it. We were a little bit below Conley, we wanted to be equal with them, so we wouldn't mind having further discussions about that dollar number then through the personnel committee at some point. Anything else? All those in favor? It's unanimous. And 7D was added. Entertain a motion for the election of Eric Tonkery as PSY teacher.
You got it.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Oh, it's right. 7 minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Oh, sorry. Was this a budgeted position?
This is something, yes, short answer, yes. Every summer, the number of hours that's required varies a little bit with the student needs, but yes, this is plus budget.
I think that's 7 days.
This is for the summer?
Yes, PSY is extended year services.
Thinking it was for the second one. He is out, yeah, he's out.
Yeah, it was just a this time, I think.
Kevin, was there anything confidential on staple to that?
Yeah.
Resume, yeah, that, probably. Was the resume staple to that project?
I gave it back to you, I just needed the wording on it, thank you.
All those in favor?
Gina, who motioned in a second?
I made a motion, Mr. Jensen.
Thank you.
If you want to know, she just beat me in the second round.
Just not
Business affairs, budget status report. Any questions, comments, concerns? Do we have an idea yet, Kevin? of the-
Not yet. It's,
No guess?
we're gonna be okay. We're gonna stay in black. But I can't tell you exactly that.
It's Pat as always.
Yeah.
Last meeting before the end of the year. The FYI, the transfer between functions. Good with that.
Is that this? That's for this.
That's for this year, currently right now. Yep.
To see, entertain a motion for the donation to the Friends of the Community Center.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Not really. I don't have any questions.
Same thing over here.
It's not.
All those in favor? That's unanimous. I don't understand.
These general assurances, so what has happened is previously, I would sign at the SU board level, and you would appoint me to basically sign all the general assurances. The Commissioner of Education now, because there are
That's one.
some issues with federal funds. Essentially what happens is we collect federal funds, Title I dollars, Title IV dollars, IDEA, we get grants in. What the Commissioner of Education wants is for the board to understand that we do collect these, and we have to assure, and there are a lot of assurances that say we'll follow the federal guidelines, we have to have a drug-free school zone, we have to make sure that we are doing our audits, which we do on a regular basis, and that the board knows that through this process there are a lot of checks and balances. So for example, when we write these grants, whether it's Pam and Gail or in other ways, Katie and Gail for professional development, that we have monies that are targeted for certain purposes. And we are obligated to spend those dollars on those purposes that we write the grant for. So IDA grant can't come in and Pam and Gail take a trip to Orlando, Florida on a, well, yes. We'll make you do it in the summer. But they were just tightening up. So this is really to let you folks know, if you'd like to see all of the assurances that we do have, that we aren't influenced in kicking back dollars to other groups and organizations. And I will tell you that Becky Jefferson would never allow us to break any of these laws and rules. We account for every single penny. So all I have to do is inform you of these things. I don't know if you have any questions, but like I said, it goes into allowable costs, the auditing.
So this is basically a general accounting practice.
Yeah.
And this is just letting us know that process is ongoing. And
You got
that's what it is.
in that we're accepting these dollars.
So what happens in the back end of all of these, just we're familiar anyways, there's paperwork that Becky and probably you go through, and this is a box you have to check off where you said you basically did this. So. And then there's further technical questions you have, and you probably have to delve into the paperwork to find it. what's going on.
Then now you have to sign as well, the chair of the board.
Do we need a motion for that, or?
No. It just has to be in general, and that I can inform the board. So.
And these assurances, they are required from the state of New Hampshire.
From the federal government.
Okay, this is the New Hampshire Department of Education, so I didn't know, it's the federal. Now, let me ask one, and I guess I shouldn't, I could go through this. What if there's something in here that's not legal in we sign?
Well, these are all related to federal.
I don't know how deep I want to get into it right now, but I saw on there that I see one thing on there right now, but I know that you're having a problem with another school. Second, page 2, there from the bottom.
I'm not sure.
So, the County Free School thing,
Yeah, that's a federal law.
it is a federal law?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gun Free Schools Act,
I guess it was a
but
federal.
there is a conflict between the state constitution and the federal law.
Okay.
One supersedes the other.
But the court's on the side of the ship.
I was just more asking.
The ATF is the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms enforce federal laws, but the state and your local police can't enforce the federal laws over the state laws. And then the state constitution is different than the federal laws.
Okay.
Did you say can or cannot?
They cannot. Okay.
This is nice.
Did you see what it was?
No, I didn't even see this whole thing. Actually, that's why I was kind of wondering.
Yeah.
For you listeners, no,
So we comply with both of these, all the things that are in the
but sure. That's probably in the same right here, so.
It is one.
Cool. Anything else? We'll move on to the administrative reports.
One piece I did hand out to you, we had our K-9 board meeting last Thursday night, and we put on a presentation about just assessments in general and how we use assessments to guide the instruction for students, and kind of the change related to that in the instructional practice. We've had, on a lot of different fronts, different committees related to each district. And one of the things that we propose is to create an SAU-9 curriculum assessment and professional development committee. What that means is that we have a governing body that's made up of, and you'll see the representatives of 4 different school board members, and it gets approved at the SAU-9 level. Ultimately, all the students will end up in the same place. We have all of our staff and administrators working in the same direction. So for our approved curriculum documents and our approved professional development committee, rather than present 12 different times to 12 different school boards and have, it makes sense from an effectiveness and efficiency standpoint to have one governing body to do that. That does not mean that Jackson can't make amendments or adopt different pieces, but when we're talking about grade level standards in competencies and instructional practice, it only makes sense to be consistent throughout SAU-9. And also, so right now, Jackson has representatives on a few different curriculum committees. Gail facilitates the literacy committee. So there is involvement all the way through. As Gail said, not only is Jackson moving forward this summer to this competency design studio, but we have 70 SAU-9 staff members that are attending. And the hope is that, again, we can learn from each other's schools and have consistency so that, not to say we're going to open page 1, page 2, page 3, but really those global curriculum documents to help transition from 6th grade to 7th grade, 8th grade to 9th grade, and consistently. So this was adopted the other night. And again, it's an improving document that we'd love to have the staff input on there. And ultimately, it'll go to the SU 9 board for approval. So it's more of an FYI than anything else. Other than that, we had a great graduation day on Saturday at Kent High School. Sunny, it was warm, but a nice breeze. We had about 140 students, I want to say. Kids gave some great speeches, and just a real wonderful day out there. And tonight, don't forget to be part of the promotion ceremony for your students at 5 o'clock. Other than that, that's it.
Meeting now, right?
Kevin, with this committee, they talk about the 4 SAU school board members, so one of the things we talked about at that meeting is maybe each school would send somebody, or each board would send somebody, so that it's not all Conway votes.
The board after boards.
An FYI item, we've been approached by the selectmen and the road agent related to the crosswalk up here. They are going to be moving the crosswalk down. They propose to bring it down through the west side maybe of the island outlets out there, and that would bring it right into our fence. However, the road agent is proposing and asking the state to move it up even further so that kids or anyone else who uses the crosswalk will have to cross from the Snowflake Field to the island, and then from the island to the beginning of our school sidewalk.
Right at the driveway entrance.
Right at the driveway entrance, yeah.
Makes sense.
So it'll be coming up towards this building, like up this one?
Right, I think that people will assume, like they already do, that that's just part of the sidewalk and keep walking right in front of the school.
Yeah.
Is it gonna get a proper curb cut?
Yes, that's part of why they're doing it,
Yeah.
I believe, because they need to have a handicap accessibility curb cut with proper raised lines and so forth. And where it is now, it brings you to what is a driveway essentially for that field. So it can't stay there.
As a person with a stroller, I appreciate that.
Before they start construction, I thought you should know, because they are going to rebuild kind of the end of our sidewalk and driveway.
And that's
in
the
order to
state or
make-
that's the town?
That is the state.
They're still gonna paint it like right in November, right before it snows and it's all rock.
So I think we're going to get official state stripes and all of that. That was just, that was not a state worker that did that at the crosswalk. In fact, there were many years where George went out with a bucket of white paint and painted it himself so he could cross.
Cover it all in there.
Let's go.
Nope, that's it.
Citizen comments. Joyce? Anything?
This doesn't really apply to Jackson Grove School, but since Kevin's here, I've intended to write a letter in the paper, I haven't done it, but I was so pleased with that Molly Roberts, whose essay was chosen to the governor for the day. You know, we don't always hear good things about our students, and sometimes you hear, oh, Kent High School, a horrible place. So there's a wonderful accolade for.
I would be on your bandwagon, and I would recommend it because I've called the paper several times. I would call Lloyd and Tom and Mark at the Conway Daily Sun and ask them to print more positive things about the high school, because they are given things to print and they don't always print positive things. The third roll honor roll and high honor roll was not printed, even though I called Lloyd 14 times and asked them to do it, and Mark himself. So they are getting information from the school that is positive, but they do not always take the time to print it. So I would recommend you write that letter.
Okay, well, you encourage me.
I will tell you that, thank you. I will, for the past probably 2 months, more at the Conway School Board, because there's a student representative who reports to Conway School Board, they have been given some outstanding accomplishments and reports related to our students in our school. And I had this conversation with somebody, you know, we're all concerned about what's going on in our world and how it's impacting and kind of the pitfalls of technology and cyberbullying and all that. I said, if you'd gone to graduation on Saturday and listened to the student speeches and heard about their accomplishments, I think that they give you the courage and the conviction to say, kids like Molly Robert and Kenzie Murphy and you know, a number of students, kids going into the service, gives you great pause to say, hey, these kids, this generation, they are waking up. I will tell you that. They are waking up and they are using their voice. And Molly Robert gave the closing address on Saturday. Yeah, and you know what? I was talking to somebody this morning about that. And in prior, you might have somebody who would have done a very vanilla, safe speech. And she kind of pushed the envelope a little bit and made people go like this. But I think it causes people to realize that hey, these kids are paying attention now. They really are. And good, bad, and different. I think they're developing that voice that we haven't seen in a generation for a few years.
So civic responsibility.
Absolutely.
That's great to hear.
I got one question about that. I guess as a citizen comment. You just mentioned that the Conway School Board has a representative from the student.
It's usually the student body president.
Comes to every single one of their meetings.
The first meeting of the month. And he does a report. And all the building principals do a report, much like Gail does to this board. And just kind of goes around from building to building to building. And instead of Principal Moylan, it's usually the student representative who does the presentation. Key Club was there last week, and they brought all their awards, and you know, they are the leader in New England as far as raising money and the number of hours service. Prior to that, you had the two students who were doing an internship for NASA. You know, there are 2 or 4 in the entire country who are going to be doing this. So, yeah.
But it just got me thinking, you know, maybe it'd be nice for once a month for us to get a Jackson alumni, a student council, somebody to come in and give us a report on, you know, what's been going on in school. That's something we all talk about, that we've got it.
They're on 40 days, it's just not, or twice a year.
I mean, we want to know more about what's going on in Barclay.
Sure.
High school, why not?
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Do that.
Only monthly because they get 2 meetings a month. They use it just once a month.
Well, we've got all our citizens here, so. That's yours.
I could come up with some more.
Well, I probably could too.
Jerry, I have a couple of questions and more issues.
Board issues, start our next date, August 20th, 6 p.m.
I won't be able to make that.
Yeah, I also will be at the
I can make it at 4, at 3 that day, but otherwise that day.
We may have to have a brief meeting to hire if we have a candidate. Unless what I could do, if I might, Mr. Chair, is poll the board. If we have a candidate, what I'd like to do is probably send out the recommended candidate for you folks. If there's only one item of business, and if there are any questions or concerns, but effectively hire the person retroactively to that date on August 20th.
Already we've done that in lots of August, it's a long to list.
So that's-
Unless there's any issues, you can call us,
Yeah.
poll us if there's any issues. We'll have a meeting with
But
them.
in any case, you get 2 that I'm going to get that meeting.
Yes, that's why I want to get back to them, a little bit concerned about that. August 20th, I might as well,
So far away.
you know, I might as well say August 20th, 2025 to me, that's,
So the Monday still work for me until September.
so should we,
Are you gone this day?
I'm gone that whole week. Yeah.
You want to try to do it the Monday before, because then that might even eliminate that.
Tuesday, the 14th?
That works for Tuesday the 14th.
I could do that day, we do like 3 o'clock.
Tuesday the 14th?
Yeah.
You bet I could. You can't do that.
You can do that day.
Yeah, okay.
Nope.
Good for you.
Who's not going to be here that week?
15th.
That week was the week of the 20th, just.
Yeah, I was just asking, yeah.
I mean, we know we're going to have 3. It's mostly going to be a business meeting anyway. It's not.
It's small, yeah.
Because we shouldn't be.
Well, if we want to leave that day, why don't you move it to 3 o'clock? Or you'd be okay?
I can do 3 o'clock on that.
Yeah, 3 o'clock.
Just as easy as
That was good for me.
Yeah.
It'll be quick.
That day for me is just, we have a big farm dinner out in our field the day before with some guest chefs around, and
The day before.
I can be here. I
You
can
can be in the field.
Leftovers.
So the 20th at 3?
20th and 3.
If we think it's going to be quick, I thought I'd do 4. What else?
Stick with your original time, 3.
Yeah, 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'll be very tired. But I'll be
So
here.
3 of that. Yeah. Okay, good.
And if you get stuck in the field, it's still too late.
Hold on, I'll be back afterwards.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Jess.
So I just had 2 questions. One is about that SB 539, confirm Jackson did not get any money from the miscalculation.
No.
Okay. And then the other thing was, there's been talk, there's a group from the SAU going to talk to admissions counselors for colleges. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So one of the pieces that we do every year is we go on an administrative retreat. So it's, Pam, Katie, myself, from the SAU office, and then all the building principals and directors. And last year we went down to Competency Design Studio, and the year before we did a different venue. This year we're going to Rhode Island. We're taking a tour. We have, it's 3 days, taking a look at some big picture schools who are not necessarily public schools, but some schools that really are into the competency-based education. We know that there is some folks who are very concerned about, well, how will this impact my child getting into college, right? And part of the conversation is around reporting of student learning. So this came up, I think, at a different board meeting. We said, hey, we aren't getting rid of GPAs, we aren't getting rid of class rank, we aren't doing that. But what we are looking at is, how do these students demonstrate their learning at the level that colleges feel comfortable for? Some students are really good SAT scores, and others don't perform so well on us. So what are these colleges taking a look at in terms of getting a real good picture for who these students are? So I think we have Brown University, University of Rhode Island, we have Rhode Island School of Design, Risky, we have Johnson & Wales, we have, so we have about 5 or 6 different schools that we've invited to a panel discussion. And we're developing questions for these folks. We're trying to really take a look at, what are these schools looking at? And are they adopting competency-based education at the collegiate level as well? And we know that there are transitions that are taking place because the students are in a different place now. And so we'll be down there, I think, when is it?
First, second, third.
First, second, third of August.
That's awesome. Cool.
So we're I'm very proud of the work that the admin team is doing. I think that we, are leading the way in a lot of ways. And I think that I feel good about the direction.
Are we the only SAU, are we merging with other?
No, we do our own thing in this one here. But, as I said when we started this journey, and other folks, were a little apprehensive, I said, I have the utmost confidence in the people here that we're going to do it, we're going to do it better than most people.
I don't know if there's other, parts of, Jersey or whatever, you know, from the tribe.
The competency design studio, that's more regional, so you'll get people from all over the place, and even out west, they're starting to, because New Hampshire is leading the way in this direction. And, yeah, so.
So Kevin, will you just put it on your list of things to come back and talk to us about?
Oh, absolutely.
I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, you bet.
I have, Jerry. I just want to share, I was just telling Kevin walking in on NPR today, they just announced University of Chicago, they do not have an SAT or ACT requirement anymore for admissions. So I'm excited because we're in it, and now we have one of the top 10 research universities say that's not important. So it's exciting.
Have you seen your guidance counselors changing the advice they're giving on creating resumes for their students?
Not yet. I think they're still fearful that these traditional models of, but I do think, you know, and I've seen I taught architecture and drafting in those courses. And so the art schools had it figured out a long time ago, right? So if you were going to art school, they looked at your grades, but they wanted to see that portfolio, right? Send us your portfolio. Show us who you are as a student. And I think that, you know, those essays that the kids write do hold a lot of weight. And I think that will be a bigger part of moving forward.
And do you think there'll be a transition period in this at all where it might negatively affect our school rank with colleges?
No, because there are ways to transfer. And it's not that the University of Chicago is not saying that SAT scores aren't important. What they're saying is that is not the only thing that's important. So they're taking a look at different sources.
And I think the only other thing is she's not here now, but did you want to say anything about Ann Bennett? This was her last hurrah, right?
She's not here.
She's not here, but.
She's going to be at the graduation.
And she didn't make the graduation.
I don't know.
I was going to say, after we adjourned, so I think I should probably write another appreciation to her, maybe get her some flowers and make sure she gets them on the last work her last day.
I have the flowers ordered. When's the last day?
Is she coming back right now?
Well, I looked at the memo, she said it's
When he's looking at the door, like,
And
it's not.
But I think I should write another appreciation.
Yes, and I love the flowers.
Because you had her for a teacher, right?
She's going to do that mentoring. Remember I spoke to you about that, so she'll be mentoring our new person, looking at how to represent. Technically, her salary can't be spent after the period, so she's going to.
But I meant when she interviews, we can give her those flowers.
After cleaning out computers and things like that, so I would say probably the end of this week, middle of next. We'll try to.
And get all the step up, is it 10:30 on Wednesday for the sixth graders?
It's tomorrow. Promotion.
Oh, tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. Oh, no, wait, promotion is tomorrow. Step up's tomorrow. Right, step up is tomorrow, promotion is Wednesday.
At 10:30. Okay.
Yes, got it, thank you.
But for the little guys, it's 2.
Right, everybody moves up, and then the sixth graders go over to Bartlett, and everybody goes up to what their next year's class will be, and they meet with the teacher, and they do some activities together. So, yeah, the new kid goes out.
Yeah, the first graders go on Sunday. Yeah. And then the last. Okay. Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Thank you, everyone. Thanks,